is a compliance management application that is used by various companies to monitor compliance of their organization in different ways. But due to the fact that we saw the importance of getting something that actually helps companies resume businesses as usual, resume operations as usual, so we saw the need to modify Checkit to be able to provide what we need. Can you hear me? Okay, so Checkit now. Checkit is a COVID compliance application, and I'm just going to go ahead and walk us through it. So on this login page, we have our logo, and I would like to point out that Checkit is completely customizable, and it can be white labeled for our clients. So now there are 3 users for Checkit. We have the employees, who are the individuals that perform self-screening, so they will decide to take their own test. We have the guards or whoever has been assigned by the management of the business to ensure compliance. So some of our clients can decide to either give the responsibility to a guard or a compliance officer to screen employees before gaining access to the facilities or the building. So that is one personnel. The other personnel I have stated is the employee who performs his self-screening. And we have the third personnel, who is the management. So the management could be the HOD of a department or the supervisor of a division. And he has access to, I think I'll walk us through as we go forward. So right now I'm going to go ahead and log into using the guard credentials. So I'll go ahead and log into the app. So I've inputted my username and password, and then I have to point something out to us. On the login page, there are 2 options. There's the check-in and there's check-in with IMEI. If you hover on the question mark just gives you more information about what that does. So check-in with IMEI ensures that after a user logs in once, they automatically gain access to the app, so they don't have to log in every time they have to use the app. So I'm going to go ahead and log in now. So I'll check in. Okay, so we're logging in. I have to point out it usually doesn't take this long. This is what happens when you have to demo. Your app decides to act funny. So we're going ahead to check in.
It seems it's taking time today. Oh, okay. Yeah, let's reload.
Okay.
Katrina, you might want to relaunch the app if it doesn't log in right now.
Okay, so it appears. Hello, can you hear me? Okay, so I'll go ahead and I think Petrina's app. I'll go ahead and share my screen so that you can see. Okay. So I'm going to be logging. Can you see my screen? Hello?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and share. So I'm going to log out on the set me and then walk you through it. Okay. So now, like before, I'll log in. So I'm going to be using my username, Renault. Okay. And my password. No. Okay. So I'll go ahead and check in. Okay. So now I've walked us through the login page. So now I have checked in and we have the next screen. So then as an employee or as a guard that is about to perform screening on an employee, you go ahead to employee screening. So employee screening on this page for an employee, which is me, if I press OK, I'll have access to my module, which is just for me to perform a self-assessment. But as a guard will have access to every individual in the facility because he has to conduct a screening on every individual. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight the individual that I want to perform the screening on, which is Bruno. And if you look at the bottom of the screen, you can see highlighted in green the last time I performed a screening. So you can see completed inspection, daily screening started by Bruno on the 5th of July, 2020 at 12:34 p.m. Also, if you click on it, you'll be able to see more information about the last screening that was performed by me. So you can see in the last 14 days. So you can just see all my responses during the last screening I performed, which was a self screen. So also some other functionalities that the app has that I think is important to point out is the fact that it has the search option. So for example, a guard that is managing a list of employees does not want to start scrolling around trying to figure out a person. So he goes ahead and types whoever. In this case, we have Bruno. Since it is just one individual, I'm giving access to screen, which is Bruno. So you search and then you select OK, the name pops up. We also have the scan function. So if an organization decides that for efficiency and speed, they do not want to spend as much time in the whole screening process, what the scan module does is that for every employee, a QR code is printed out for them and is laminated. So once they get to the entry, all they have to do is scan the QR code. So normally, if I scan now, you see, so I'll be able to scan the QR code. So I go back, and then if I highlight Bruno and I swipe to the left, the employee details will come up. If I swipe to the left again, you see history of all the screenings done by me. But in a situation where the security guard is the one managing the screening, he sees the history of this individual and all the screening that has been done, but he's not granted access. Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
We can hear you.
Okay, great. So, but he's not granted access to the non-conformities and other information about the employee because you do not want the guard to have too much information about each individual. So I'm going to go back. This is for the employee screening. I think I want us to take it back to Katharina so that we can get to interact with it with the guard module to see how this app works. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and give Katharina a chance to do that.
Hi, Runo.
Yeah,
I'm
hi.
also a backup. I can also share my
Okay,
screen if you
okay.
like.
Okay, fine, that's fine.
All right.
So I'm going to stop presenting now and you can share your screen.
Bruno, I have asked Elise just to stand in. We're sitting without power. Our substation is having
Okay, that's fine.
difficulties. So my
It's fine.
my hotspot is pulling data through the PC, so the phone is not getting any.
That's okay. So it's your connectivity.
Elise, are you?
Yeah, Katerina. Tommy, can you
Thank you.
see my screen, everyone?
Not yet.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay. I'm just gonna log in as God, and then you can take it from there.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, so now Elise has logged in as a guard. Can we go back, Elise?
Sure.
Okay, so we have the different modules. So to perform the screening by the guard, he goes to the employee screening. At least I cannot see the screen. Okay, great. So he goes to the employee screening and the visitor signing. And here he can either search for a particular employee or he just selects OK. And once he selects OK, there is a pop-up of every employee that he has access to. So we can see the object names, which are the employees' names. We can see the identifier, which are their different job roles. So we have the HR administrator, the payroll, we have the sales executive. We can also see the categories, which is their department. So as I mentioned before, I spoke about the scan feature. So we can go ahead and highlight a particular employee we want to scan. So let's say Denise Richards. So if you click on Denise, so we can see, if you look at the bottom of the screen, you can see the last time Denise performed a screening. So this is able to let you know, I think at the end of the day, every organization wants to be able to keep track of their employees and make sure that they're being safe and make sure that they're performing a self-screening daily. So for some staff, like for example, the sales personnel, they do not have to come to the office on a daily basis, but you want to be able to keep track that they are performing a screening every day. So this helps you account for that because you can see the last time a screening was performed by them. So now, as I've clicked on Denise, if I swipe to the left, I'll be able to see information about Denise. I'll be able to see her details. So I can see her picture, I can see her job title, allergies, next of kin, if there's any individual I need to contact in case of any emergency, for example, if she has COVID, hopefully not. Then if I swipe to the left again, also be able to see the history of all the screening that has been done. So you can see daily screening, you can see staff check-in and declaration. That is another type of screening. So now this is the guard module. We can click on a particular screen. So daily screening, we click on it, we can view information about that particular test. So I would also like to highlight the fact that in as much as this app has different modules, so it also has the management parts, which allows the management to be able to see the results of every of their employee. But the guard does not have access to that because we're trying to reduce the risks So reduce the amount of information he actually has access to. So I think now I'm just going to go ahead and log off and then sign in with a HOD credential. Okay, so now I'll be signing in with another credential. This credential has more access because he's the HOD of a department. So he wants to have access of every individual in his under his care. So now, not only does he have access to the employee screening, so if we go to the employee screening and visitor signing, we can see that for this, using my account as an employee, you could see only Runo because that was the only access I was given, and that's the access that is granted to an employee for them, so they will not be able to have information of any other individual apart from them. But as we can see here, this HR executive, he has information about everybody. So as the director, he has information about his staff, he has information about another executive, everybody under his department, but only his department. So the HOD of HR is not expected to have information about individuals in sales or marketing. So now the same thing, if we go ahead to highlight, so we can highlight Edward. If we go ahead to highlight Edward, and we want to conduct a screening for him, if the company or if the company decides that, okay, I want the HR to be able to perform a screening for my for the staff under his care. So what he just does is he clicks on it. So and he goes to do. So do takes us to the screening, a list of pre-populated questionnaires that the employee gets to answer. And I would like to point out the fact that the questionnaire has already been populated. This makes it very fast. So you can do a question, you can finish a test in less than 30 seconds. So that accounts to at least productivity, and it doesn't reduce the efficiency of your employees. So you can see the questions in the past 14 days. Have you been in contact? No. Do you have a max? So if I go ahead and change the value, do you have a max? So if I go ahead and click on no, so that I'm not wearing a mask right now. So I select no. You can see the notification that comes of access not granted on government regulations. So this message is totally customizable. So the organization can decide whatever they want to be on it. For example, another message can be access not granted, report to your local clinic. That is if the management has deemed it fit. So now, based on the fact that Edward is not putting on a mask, he cannot be granted access into the building and resume work because we do not want him infecting other employees. So he cannot complete this screening. And if he cannot complete this screening, he can't be allowed in. So now we go ahead and go back, select yes. We see that there's the option to take a photo, just proof that he's actually putting on a face mask. Then do you have any, so that's the, yes, as we can see, so he can just take a photo and then submit. So now we go ahead to the different symptoms. You can see fever, as I mentioned before, it is pre-populated. Then also another interesting feature that Checkit has is the fact that on each symptom, if the employee does not understand, so for example, fever, oh, okay, I want more information, he can just hover on the icon. There's an icon beside each symptom that gives more information about it. So you can see in more than 80% cases, so it just gives more brief of why this is a red flag. So okay, you can exit. So we go ahead, cough, no, shortness of breath, no, sore throat, no, headache, no. So yes, so this is, so Again, any information on this app is totally customizable. The app comes with its own a list of information, but it is customizable to whatever the organization wants to pass across, the information the organization wants to pass across to their staff. So also we can see headache, everything is pre-populated, no, 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 no. So I can go ahead and change a value. For example, headache, instead of no, I'll change it to yes, just because we want it to raise a red flag. Okay, so temperature, we can see there's going to be a range, so we can select on temperature. There's a range 35 to 37, which is the normal temperature, and then 38 and above, which is not the norm. So actual temperature, we can go ahead and select 36. So that is after a reading has been conducted, because as we know, before you enter a building, the temperature of the individual should be taken. Also, can I point out that if we go back to the temperature and we go and if we select the range 38 and above, you get an error message that says access not granted. So this ensures that no employee that has a high temperature, which we know is one of the symptoms of COVID, is gains access into the building. So now go ahead, okay, we go back, change the value back to 36, 35 to 37. Great. Then additional notes just is any information he wants to pass across. So we can just go ahead and type anything. So we can feeling good. So we can type feeling good. Then do you declare that the information you provided is accurate? Yes. Name of inspector. In this case, it is the HR Raj that is performing this inspection. So Raj indicates name of inspector Raj. Signature. So impute Raj. Then we go to the signature of the inspector, which is the individual carrying out this inspection. And as I pointed out before, it could be any of three individuals. It could be the guard or the personnel that has been assigned this responsibility to perform this screening. It could be the employee that is performing a self-screening on himself. And it could also be the HOD, which is what we're doing right now. So we go ahead and select OK. Okay, then another interesting feature that Checkit has is that it allows for you to select GPS location. So for example, if you want to be able to get the location of your staff where they're performing that screening at that point in time, for example, if you get the location and you see that an individual is supposed to be in gate A performing a screening and you're seeing that he is in floor 3, that's already a red flag that, oh, you're not where you're supposed to be. Or an example that I gave before, the sales team. If the sales individual is supposed to be in one of your facilities, excuse me, in Ikeja, and you see his location, and his location is telling you that he's in Ekpe, that is a red flag. That shows that he's not where he should be at that point in time. So now, another thing I think is important to point out is the fact that every of the questions that is highlighted in red is a mandatory questions. So you can decide to select GPS also as a mandatory question, meaning if you don't feel that, you cannot perform, you can't complete your screening, and if you don't complete your screening, you can't gain access into the building. So we go ahead to save. Save just means you can come back to it, or we submit. So I think go ahead to submit. Great. So now that is excuse me. So now another yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I needed to just call your attention to the timing. So
okay.
You have 20 minutes left to the session, so you know how to manage your time.
Okay, that's great. So I think one thing, I'm just going to rush through the remaining things that we have. So I think I've shown us the three different types of logging that we can do. So can we go back to the previous page? I think another thing that I would want to highlight is the fact that as a manager, you have there's the particular functionality that the manager has that the employee or the guard doesn't have, which is the ability to be able to detect non-conformances. So he's able to tell which of his staff or which of his employee is showing a symptom of COVID, or which of his employee is not conforming. So, for example, he's not putting on a face mask. So I'm going to go ahead to the management part. So management employee symptom. That is just a module that is only accessible to management for them to be able to keep track of all employees. So here we can see this is all the tests that have been performed by the different employees in HR. And we can see to the right, we can see non-conformances. So these are just the different things that the employee should have done, or the red flags basically. So we can see, you can either sort by the number of conformance. So he can go from the highest one, which is 2. So we can go to Edward now. We can see that Edward had 2 non-conformance. And if we select an Edward, okay, and then we select do corrective action. So that just shows you what was the red flag in Edward's test. And we can see that Edward, in the past 14 days, have you been in contact? His value was yes, meaning he has been in contact with someone that was exposed to COVID. And that means that it's a high risk situation. So the remark, we can type in high risk situation or high risk. So we can type that as a remark, high risk. Okay, and then I can, as a manager, sign off on that because that has been handled. Then another symptom that he has, headache. If I click on that, I'll get more information about it. So if I select headache, I can see the value, yes, meaning he had headache, time left to complete, which is, as you can see, overdue 26 hours, meaning as the manager, I should have completed this corrective action 26 hours ago. So it's just a way to tell that, okay, I'm behind schedule. Then also, I'd like to point out some other features. Sorry, I'm trying to rush through this. Some other features that he has, such as the corrective action. So if I click on corrective action, I'll have a drop down of different options that I could select from. This is if I want, as the organization, if you want to give the management a list of actions that they should perform. For example, we can see employee informed manager and will be tested. That's an action. The other action, the employee tested negative and is taking medication, or non-employee illness. So I'll go ahead and select non-employee illness. So then root cause, also I have the option of selecting from a drop down. I can decide that, okay, it was a migraine. I know that he had a migraine, so it's not COVID. And then I go ahead, I can decide to impute a remark or not, but I'll leave that, and then I complete sign off. And then I save and exit. Okay, so this is, can we go back? So also this module has the difference for different employees. It also has the search and it has the scan. It also has the history and details of so you have all the details of your employee. The non-conformances managed by me. What that module does is that just if an employee, for example, an employee in HR, normally he's being managed by the HOD of HR, but if, for example, he has been moved to sales, and we need to be able to track him in sales. So this module, so if I click on it, and I select on an individual, for example, Edward again, if I select on Edward, we know that he has red flags, he has non-conformance, yes. So when I go to do corrective action, I can decide click on gloves, I can change who is responsible for that. So I know that he has left me, he has left my department, and I can decide to take it to sales. So the sales, they'll be in charge to take up his case from there. So I'll select, let's just say payroll. Sorry, I'll select payroll, and great. So I'll save and exit, and then payroll will handle it. Great. So these are the different, most of the functionalities of the Checkit app. Just there, Checkit has a wide range of functionalities actually, but it is built up, is built on based on what the client needs at that point in time. So right now, based on the need based on the need for COVID management, yes. So that is why we have streamlined it. So I think I'm done. At least thank you. So you can stop sharing.
Okay, so thank you, Vuno. We are 5 minutes behind this schedule, but it's fine. We can always work around it. Ideally, we're supposed to start the BI, right?
Yes.
But I would say we should trade out for questions and answers. Let people comment based on what you've done. And then while we're answering that, we can set up the BI and then possibly answer questions that relate to it because of time. Or what do you
Okay,
think?
I think that's fine. Before we go through the dashboard, we can actually take questions, as you said.
Okay. So any question, clarifications on what has been said so far from anyone? If you can hear us, even if you don't have a question, please signify so we're sure we're audible.
Okay.
Susan, you can go on. Okay, Susan, thank you. Do you have any question for us?
No, I don't. I was raising my hand to signify, just like you asked.
Oh, okay. Anyone else? I can see, so I might be forced to call people. I can see Engineer Khalid. Engineer Khalid, are you here? Okay. So while we're waiting for that,
Okay.
Okay, so let's just continue with that. So if you have any question, please, it's an open floor. Let's have the session. So while we're waiting for comments or questions from people, you can go on with the BI.
Okay. So now I'll just project the dashboard, which is the Power BI. Okay. So Elise, please can you help me do that? Okay, so can you guys can you see? I'm sure we can all see this dashboard. So basically, what the dashboard does is that we know that, okay, I forgot to highlight one important factor about Checkit. Checkit is a centralized management application. So what it allows for, I'm going to give an example. If we had an organization that has about 10, 20, 50 branches, that's a lot of information, yes. But what Checkit does is it allows you to be able to not only gets that amount of information from all the branches, but also it allows you to be able to see whatever information you need to see in a very clear format. Like for example, you can see different. You can see a pie chart of complete / non-complete non-conformances. You can see the severity. So for each symptom or each issue, they were allocated a value of severity. So you can see the amount of severity that people had. So as we can see here, we can see that high, which is in red, had the most number, and we can see that there were 97 high severities. We can see that there was 20 low, and we can see that there was 25 medium. We can also see what the root causes were for the different issues. We can see what the corrective actions were. So it just allows you to be able to see all the information that you need at a glance. So for example, if an institution or an organization appoints a compliance manager to be responsible for compliance of every single institution that they have, what this does is that this is just a beautiful tool for that manager to be able to export, because from this dashboard, you can decide to export to PowerPoint, so that you have all your information at a glance. You can decide to leave it on the dashboard just for you, or if you have to do a presentation. I can imagine that a compliance manager would have to give a presentation to the executives of his organization. So all he just has to do is select the different parameters that he wants information about and select the different parameters, and he will get a graphical representation of all the information he needs to know about the different parameters. And then all he has to do is export this information and then go for his presentation, because he knows where his organization lies at every point in time. So I think that's something that's interesting about Checkit. I think another interesting thing about it also is the fact that for each screening, each test that is scheduled. So we mentioned how there are different types of tests. So we mentioned that there's the HOD aspect, there's the employee self-screening, and there's also the security guard. So for example, for the employee self-screening, if you say that, oh, I want my employees to be able to be screened at a particular period of time. So for example, if you decide that I want them screened by 10 a.m. every morning, a notification can be sent to them to their mail that, okay, it's time for a screening. And in 30 minutes, they're done, and you have all the information of how your employees are doing for that day. And not only your employees in your particular building, but your employees all over the country. So I think that's something that another interesting feature about Checkit, the fact that you get your information at a glance. I think the app just extracts that info. So I think that's the I'm looking at the time now, it's 4:53. So I'm still going to give room for questions. So I think we should end that there. So that's just what the dashboard does. If you look at the top of the dashboard, you can see different parameters that you can select. You can see the inspection object, inspection type, the repair. The repair is the person taking corrective measures. You can see the severity. You can also see that this is one tab, which is the object analysis. You also have other tabs for different other analyses that are performed. So I think that's another interesting feature of Checkit. So I think now I'm still going to throw it back to the house for questions.
Okay, so thank you, Bruno, for that. So as we have seen, the dashboard is basically, it's quite straightforward, quite simple. It's an aggregation of the different inputs from the mobile app. So while we're waiting for questions, if anyone has a question, you can interrupt. Let me just ask some questions. Okay, Engineer Khalid says.
Please, okay. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for presentation from all the panelists. Once again, I think in one of the sessions I've attended, I request that if we can get a prompt, but so as not to make it look rhetorical, what we are looking at, or what I'm trying to ask now is, I'm trying to look at where I can get the information of all my staff before they even get to the facility. Because coming to the facility, some of them might share bosses, they might share with people we don't know, they might share with other colleagues, they might give a ride to colleague and get to the office before we discover they have high risk or they have any of the symptoms for COVID-19. So in trying to even avoid that the staff or employee get to the facility before we discover or waiting on a response from the back end in the office, I'm of the opinion that if work resumes 8 a.m., I would prefer if there is a prompt between 6 a.m. and 7 a.m. And if you don't even fill the checklist up before 7 a.m., we don't even let you come near the facility to even do the final check. So that I avoid the physical presence in work facility, which could have triggered some other cases for me. If I have a potential COVID-19 staff who had gotten to the facility before I got to know, there's tendency I may have primary and secondary contact from it. So I still want to reiterate, if we can get a prompt, maybe if it is designed or customized for individual use, if I can get a prompt an hour before, and if you don't fill it an hour before, which is 7 a.m., you don't even come to the office at all, or you don't even show up at all. So that prompt is the part I wanted, so that I avoid the person being now in the office at all. So I don't have to start doing a contact tracing from primary or secondary contact to the person. So I would like this area to be reiterated, and within the demo time, I don't know if it's something that we can see that is possible within some few days, because it's key to the final decision I have regarding the app. Thank you.
Okay, thank you,
Okay.
Khalid.
Do you want to answer that, or should I?
Okay, if you want to go ahead, that's fine.
Okay, so from my own perspective, basically we can set up the questions to pop up at our preferred timing. Now it's a mobile app, so they're definitely going to be taking it home. So what we just need to do while configuring it is configure it to say, okay, at 6 a.m., send in the questions, send in the prompt on the mobile phone. So that aspect has been sorted. So even if you want it 12 midnight, that's not an issue. So the other aspect now has to do with you being the manager. So you set out the questions and the person filled the questions and it's looking like a negative response. I would believe what you're saying is you want to receive a prompt saying, okay, out of the 30 people or 40 people that filled the app today, 5 of them came back with a negative response. And because they came back with a negative response, you don't want those 5 to even come near the facility. So you don't even want to wait till you see the dashboard before action is being taken. I believe that's what you're trying to say, Engineer Khalid. Engineer Khalid.
What I'm trying to say is, when you are filling the form and you say, oh, you are in contact with a COVID-19 positive patient or whatever in the last 14 days, that alone, I don't want you to come to the office. Let me start from there, even when you didn't show any symptom. Or you come in contact with a COVID-19 patient in the last 14 days, but you have access to nose mask, and you have one of the 6-7 symptoms, like coughing, you have one, then I don't even want you to come to the office at all. Let me start treating you from home. Let me start seeing you as a potential person I need to isolate. But that doesn't mean that because you have one of the symptoms you are positive. But I don't want to take any chance. So that's why I want that 1 hour prompt, so that I have enough time to check all what is coming in, and I can as well engage that particular employee to say, stay home, we'll put up a check on you, because you have 1 or +1 of the symptom. So I'm still trying to be extremely proactive by trying not to let such person get to the office before I start doing the root cause and seeing if it's a normal flu or whatever.
Yeah,
so
for me, the time schedule should sort that out, because if you say let the test take place at 6 a.m. and then they stop at 7, then you should be able to evaluate the result between 7 and 8. Is that correct? Yeah, so I think that's already covered. Yeah, that's fine there.
Okay, so can I also chip in? So I think there's something else that Check It has here. So to answer your question, Khalid, there are two ways that you in that scenario it can work. So there's an 1 hour prompt here sent to your employees to conduct that test before they even set out in the morning to go to work. So you have 1 hour. We're assuming that they would have been done with their test in 1 hour before. So you have 1 hour to check. So there are two ways that as a manager you could do that. One of it is going to the app where you go to the management module. There you see all the non-conformances for that particular day. So that already pops up. So that's one of the ways. Can you hear me? Oh, sorry. I think there was a feedback.
I can hear you.
Okay. So the other way that you can check for that is that whenever as the administrator or as the manager, whenever there is a test or a screening that has been carried out and there's a non-conformity, so there's a red flag, an email is sent to your mail and it gives you that information. Like I think it's being projected now. If you look at the screen, you see can everybody see the screen?
Yes, I can see. I don't know if others can see.
Okay, great. So you see the email, and a non-conformance email has been sent to Elaine's mail now. So I was about to even project on mine. So you can see that this gives all the information on the 16th of July 2020, which was this test that we just took, and where I indicated that there was a headache. You can see that pop up that on the 16th of July 2020, Raj Kapoor performed an inspection on Edward, and on the item headache was recorded yes. So that already tells you that for this particular person, so if there was a self-assessment, self-screening that took place and there was a non-conformance, you get this mail for you to be able to see that, oh, okay, this employee has a red flag. So also, if you open the PDF document, so the PDF document also gives you an analysis of all the tests that was performed. So please can you go ahead and open the document? Please, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Just hang on a second. I'm just gonna stop sharing and start sharing again. Sorry about that.
Okay.
Okay, so while we're waiting for that, if you have any other question,
Okay.
please signify. You can go on.
Renee, can you see the screen?
Yes, I can. So now this just shows you the different basically a breakdown of the test that was performed. So you can see the name, you can see the person's roles, you can see all the questions and all the values. And then it highlights in the text, in the box down at the bottom of the screen of the document, you can see in red, it highlights the non-conformance. So you can see that the due date for you to attend to it is today. And you can see basically what the issue was, and then it allows you to put in your start date, your end date, your corrective actions that you perform. So I think that answers your question. So that speaks to that fact. It speaks to the problem that you asked about, which is you able to know when an employee has a symptom even before they enter the staff bus or before they come to the office. So you already get that information in two different ways. Immediately they perform their screening.
Okay, I think that answers it. Thank you, Bruno. Any other question? We are 5 minutes behind schedule. We just want to take questions. So
sorry, hope I can go ahead.
Oh, okay, Engineer Khalid, go on. Yeah.
Yes, please. We've not talked about the commercial. Money matters. Please, how does this go? How much is this for an organization? Is it per 500, per 1,000, per 2,000, or is just fixed at a particular rate? And how flexible it is? Can you just say something about that?
Okay. I'm going
Did
to
I
go
hear
ahead
that?
and say,
Okay. Go on.
okay, Wale, don't worry, you can go ahead.
Go on, Bruno. I always laugh.
Okay, cool. So I'm going to go ahead and say that for this, we have our price band yet, and the costing depends on what organization it is. So it's not a general costing for every organization. It depends on the staff strength of that organization. It depends on the frequency, because an organization can decide that, oh, I want to conduct tests every day. Some can say twice a day. Some they can decide that they want it to be a weekly test. So it depends on the frequency. It depends on the number of employees. That determines the costing.
Okay, so in addition to that, we would share the costing outside this session. So Engineer Khalid would get across to you, but be sure it's something very affordable.
Yes,
so that answers the
All
question.
right. Okay, thank you. Thank you about that. Thank you so much.
Yes. Any other question? Why is it only Engineer Khalid? No other person? Are we all fine? Are we all good? Okay, so at the absence of any other question, we would be closing the session. I don't know, apart from Bruno, any other comments from Ellen? Do you want to add any, Katrina? Oh, good. Okay.
Katrina, do you have anything to add? Okay, so I think we're good.
No, she is. Yeah, Katrina.
Yes. Just repeat the question, Bruno.
Do you have anything to add, or are you good?
I'm good. I just want to reiterate the fact that Checkit can also automate the inspection checklists, Bruno, like you said in the beginning.
Yeah.
That's it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we have our email list for everyone who would also reach out to you. Thank you for being a part of this edition. This is our premiere edition for Checkit. We're still going to have other sessions. So I believe some of us might not be asking questions right now because we're trying to have a grasp over what this solution is all about. So over the days, over the weeks, we would you would get to understand how it works better. So thank you all for being a part of this session.
Can you hear me? I also want Checkit is also available for a proof of concept. I just want to add that. So because I understand that it's a lot to take in.
Okay. So for those of us that want to test, right?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll do an email out saying anyone who would love to test should revert back or revert to us, and then we would add you to the test group so we can also test. That's fine, we know.
Okay.
So thank you, everyone. Nice having
you.
Thank you. Thank you, Bukola. Thank you, Dovi. Thank you, Elise. Eileen. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Joanne. Thank you, Joshua. Thank you, Lolio. Thank you, Olayinka. Thank you, Olayode, Olushola, Ronke, Sumbo, Susan.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Hey, teacher, remember the color changing chameleons? What about the gems you showed us?
What do you want?
The super sideways one. Super